Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro lashes out at the United States, denying claims that his country is linked to drug cartels. He calls U.S. troops deployment treasonous and vows to resist foreign aggression. In Geneva, European powers warn Iran, curb uranium enrichment or face sanctions. Britain, France, and Germany meet with Iranian officials as the deadline looms for nuclear compliance. In Gaza, hunger continues to claim lives. A 28-year-old man has died of malnutrition as the war tightens its grip on civilians. From the sky, hope falls. The UAE completes its 81st airdrop into Gaza under the Birds of Goodness initiative, bringing a lifeline to families desperate for food and water. A son's plea for his father, Sebastian Duterte, speaks out in the Netherlands, demanding fair treatment for the former president under the custody of the ICC. Enough is enough. After a brutal ambush left 13 community officers dead, indigenous groups in Mexico have taken up arms. They've launched their own patrols to protect their communities, sending a clear message to cartels and authorities alike. And Venus Williams is back on the big stage. The tennis legend teams up with Canada's Leylah Fernandez after landing a U.S. Open doubles wildcard. 2 generations, 1 goal, chasing Grand Slam glory. I'm Kristel Guangco. Newsline World starts now. First in our news, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has denounced the United States anti-drug policy and the deployment of American troops to the Caribbean, claiming Washington's accusations against Caracas are unfounded and politically motivated. This report from Paul Montebon.
Speaking in Caracas on Monday, President Nicolas Maduro rejected Washington's claims that Venezuela is a hub for narco-terrorist groups. He argued that the majority of cocaine destined for the United States originates from Colombia and Ecuador, while only about 5% passes through Venezuelan territory.
Los expertos de los países lo saben, que Venezuela es territorio libre de sembradíos de hojas de coca, libre de producción de cocaína. Y Venezuela combate y está derrotando el porcentaje apenas del 5% de la cocaína colombiana que pretenden pasar por el territorio venezolano.
Maduro went on to question the effectiveness of U.S. military presence in Colombia, pointing out that drug production has only expanded in areas surrounding American bases.
Colombia tiene 7 bases militares de Estados Unidos, con personal, equipos, tecnología. Y yo pregunto, si tienen 7 bases militares en Colombia, ¿por qué se triplicó la producción de cocaína alrededor de todas las bases militares?
The Venezuelan leader also lashed out at opposition figures that he accused of welcoming foreign intervention, branding such calls as treason.
Y es un despropósito, es una traición a la patria, a aquellos que desde Venezuela, siendo venezolano o venezolana, o desde el exterior, están promoviendo, llamando, alentando, aplaudiendo una agresión militar contra nuestro país, o el asesinato de los líderes políticos y militares del país. Es un delito grave, muy grave.
Maduro warned that the United States would never tolerate similar appeals within its own borders and insisted Venezuelans would resist foreign aggressions. The remarks come after Washington announced a large-scale military operation in the southern Caribbean, deploying thousands of troops, ships, and missile systems to combat drug trafficking. Tensions have escalated after the U.S. designated the so-called Cartel of the Suns as a terrorist organization, accused Maduro of colluding with cartels and placed a $50 million reward on his arrest. Maduro framed the standoff as part of a broader global shift, claiming the United States is resisting the rise of a new multipolar world.
Estamos en un momento de transición del viejo mundo imperial al nuevo mundo de los pueblos del sur, al nuevo mundo multipolar. Estos son dolores de parto del nacimiento de un nuevo mundo. Y Venezuela va en la vanguardia otra vez, igual que hace 200 años.
Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montebon, SMNI News.
Dozens of indigenous groups in Mexico's Guerrero state have launched armed patrols following the deadly ambush that left 13 community police officers dead earlier this month. The self-defense forces accuse a local criminal group of orchestrating the attack. More on this from Almar Fosbalo.
Footage from Ayutla de los Libres shows armed members of the Union of Peoples and organizations of the state of Guerrero, or UPUEG, carrying out roadside inspections as part of their search for those responsible. The suspects are believed to be members of the gang known as Los Ardillos. The August 17 assault in the village of El Cortijo claimed the lives of 13 community officers. Since then, around 85 communities have joined forces, vowing to defend their territory if state and federal authorities fail to act.
Hoy quiero manifestar que los ciudadanos del municipio de Ayutla y la UPOEL exigen al gobierno federal que detengan a los delincuentes que fueron a la comunidad del Cortijo a asesinar a nuestros compañeros policías comunitarios.
UPUEG representatives say the government has yet to provide updates on arrests and no official has met with the group since the killings.
Somos policías ciudadanos de la UPOEL, lo hacemos sin ningún sueldo, lo hacemos de voluntad y es lo que queremos exigir al gobierno, que detenga a los responsables de esta masacre de la comunidad de Cortijo. Si no lo hace el gobierno, la UPOE avanzará y irá hasta donde se encuentren los delincuentes.
Local outlets reported that 2 men and women were detained during the operations and later handed over to prosecutors, though authorities have not confirmed the arrests. Search efforts continue in surrounding villages, with residents vowing not to allow criminal groups into their territory at any cost. Reporting for Newsline World, Almar Forsualo, SMNI News.
In other news, former U.S. President Donald Trump is weighing in again on the war in Ukraine, describing efforts to resolve the conflict as far more difficult than he expected. Speaking at a recent event, Trump said he once thought brokering peace between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky would be the easiest task, but admits it has become the hardest.
What I thought would be the easiest is turning out to be the hardest. That's President Putin and President Zelensky, but I think I'll get it done. With war, you never know. But with war, you never know. Things change. People go into war, think they're going to win the war, and then they get their asses kicked. And they lose their country, they lose millions of lives.
Trump went on to criticize former President Joe Biden, calling him grossly incompetent and blaming him for allowing the conflict to escalate.
Biden shouldn't have let that happen. Biden shouldn't have, I mean, the man was grossly incompetent. He should have never been there. That would have never happened. But you don't go into a war that's 15 times your size.
The president has repeatedly claimed he could negotiate an end to the war, though he has offered few details on how he would achieve it. Typhoon Kajiki has torn through Vietnam, leaving at least 3 people dead and forcing hundreds of thousands to flee. The storm has left massive damage in its wake before weakening into a tropical depression over Laos. Let's hear the latest from Aniza de Guzman.
Kajiki slammed into the Bac Chong Bo, or North Central Coast region, on Tuesday with winds reaching 130 kilometers per hour. The powerful storm ripped roofs of thousands of homes, toppled trees and utility poles, and left more than 1.6 million residents without electricity. Authorities evacuated some 600,000 people from high-risk areas, while schools and airports were ordered closed. Soldiers and paramilitary forces were deployed to assist in rescue and relief efforts. Kajiki had already caused major disruption in southern China before hitting Vietnam. In Sanya, the popular resort city on Hainan Island, residents struggled to clear debris from blocked streets after the storm toppled trees and knocked out power. Authorities raised a red alert, the highest warning level, shutting down transport, schools, businesses, and tourist attractions. Now downgraded to a tropical depression, Kajiki continues to dump heavy rains over northern Laos. The storm adds to a season of extreme weather across Asia, with Vietnam still reeling from last year's deadly typhoon, Yagi. I'm Anissa de Guzman, your global citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Coming up, in Gaza, hunger continues to claim lives. A 28-year-old man has died of malnutrition as the war tightens its grip on civilians. And from the sky, hope falls. The UAE completes its 81st airdrop into Gaza under the Birds of Goodness initiative, bringing a lifeline to families desperate for food and water. More news when Newsline World returns.
Sa panahon ng tagulan, hindi lang baha at ulan ang dapat bantayan, kundi pati na rin ang mga sakit na pwedeng makahawa. At dahil ngayon ay rainy season, nagbabala ang Department of Health laban sa tinatawag na wild diseases. 4 na klase ng sakit na karaniwang nakukuha ng tao tuwing maulan. Ito ang W o waterborne diseases gaya ng pagdudumi o gastroenteritis. I o influenza-like illnesses gaya ng sipon, ubo at lagnat. L o leptospirosis na maaaring makuha mula sa ihi ng mga daga sa baha. At D o dengue na dala ng mga lamok. Kapag baha, mas mabilis kumalat ang mikrobyo, kaya't ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at agad maligo matapos lumusong sa baha. Ano ang dapat gawin para maiwasan ang wild diseases? Tumutok sa weather updates. Magsuot ng kapote at bota. Siguraduhing malinis ang iniinom na tubig. Agad kumonsulta sa health center kung may nararamdamang sintomas. Mainam din gawin ang 40 o taob, taktak, tuyo at takip para maiwasan ang dengue sa bahay at komunidad. Maglinis, magmasid, mag-ingat. Labanan ng wild diseases ngayong tagulan. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Madalas ka bang napapasobra sa pag-scroll sa phone mo kahit puro masasamang balita ang nakikita mo? Isipin mo ito. Nakahiga ka na sa kama, nagche-check lang ng phone bago matulog. Tapos, hindi mo na malayan, ilang oras ka na palang nagbabasa at nanonood ng mga balita tungkol sa digmaan, sakuna, politika at lahat ng masasamang nangyayari sa mundo. Nakakaramdam ka na ng kaba at pagod. Pero tuloy mo pa rin ang scroll mo. Ang tawag dyan ay doom scrolling. Ito ang habit ng paulit-ulit na pagtingin sa mga negatibo o nakaka-depress na content tulad ng digmaan, krimen o problema sa mundo. Nakaka-stress pero hindi mo pa rin mapigilan. Ayon sa isang pag-aaral ng Texas Tech University, ang sobrang konsumo ng masasamang balita ay nauugnay sa pagtaas ng stress, anxiety at pisikal na sintomas gaya ng pagkapagod at sakit ng ulo. Ayon naman sa Harvard Health, ang doom scrolling ay nagpapataas ng fight or flight hormones tulad ng cortisol at adrenaline na nakakapagpabigat ng isip at katawan. Nakakaapekto ito sa iyong mood, tulog at maging sa mental at physical health mo. At kapag naman puro memes at random na content ang pinapanood mo ng sunod-sunod hanggang sa mawalan ka na ng gana na mag-isip at gumawa ng iba pang gawain, ang tawag naman dyan ay brain rot. Sa Gen Z at tinatawag na internet culture, ang brain rot ay overconsumption o sobrang tagal na panonood ng paulit-ulit, mababaw, magulo o walang saysay na content online. Hanggang sa parang manhid na ang utak mo. Kapag nasobrahan, syempre, nakakasama. Nawawalan ka na ng focus, nawawala ang motivation, hirap mag-isip ng malalim, parang lutang o foggy ang utak. Masaya sa simula, pero kapag sobra, napapagod ang isip mo. Nahihirapang mag-concentrate at parang lutang. Mas delikado pa ito sa mga bata dahil ang utak nila ay nasa proseso pa ng pag-develop. Kaya mas malakas ang epekto ng doom scrolling at brain rot sa kanila. Maaaring makaapekto sa pag-aaral, pag-iisip at pakikitungo sa iba. Ang higit sa 4 na oras ng screen time araw-araw sa mga kabataan ay konektado sa 35 to 88% na mas mataas na posibilidad ng depresyon, anxiety at stress. Base ito sa isang malawakang pag-aaral sa Brazil. Kaya, maging balanse. Magpahinga sa screen, magbasa, makipagkwentuhan, magdasal, maging present lagi. Alagaan ang iyong isipan. Kung anong itinatanim sa isipan mo, yun ang lalago.
Dozens of Palestinians were injured on Tuesday as Israeli forces carried out a raid in the center of Ramallah. The operation targeted a currency exchange business, which the Israeli army claims was transferring funds to Hamas. Footage from the scene shows military vehicles positioned outside the Arab Bank building. Soldiers were seen on balconies and forcing their way inside. In one video, an Israeli soldier fires his weapon and throws a grenade near a group of journalists. Media reports say 58 Palestinians, including a child, were wounded by live ammunition, rubber bullets, and tear gas during the raid in Ramallah and Al-Bire. In a statement, the Israeli army confirmed that 5 people were arrested on suspicion of involvement in terrorist activity. The military also said hundreds of thousands of shekels were seized, allegedly intended to fund Hamas. Gaza mourns as hunger claims another life. A 28-year-old man among the latest victims of war-driven malnutrition, highlighting the deepening humanitarian crisis. Leylah Fernandez tells us more of the story.
Funeral prayers were held on Tuesday at Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City for 28-year-old Hamada Warsh Agha, who died from reported malnutrition. His brother, Mazen Warsh Agha, said the lack of proper food during the war led to his condition.
طبعا اخوي كان معه سوء تغذية طبعا من الحرب ومن القصف، وطبعا الاكل اللي كان يدخل وما كانش فيه بالمره يعني اشي مفيد طبعا للصحه، يعني كان اغلبه معلبات، وفي على الاغلب بتحملوش المعلبات والامور هذه، يعني صاب سوء تغذيه وسوءت حالته، كنا نهتم فيه اخر شيء ما الله يرحمه.
He added that Hamada had been in good health before the war.
وكان قبل الحرب كويس، ما فيش فيه اي حاجه، يعني اجت الحرب صار معاه سوء تغذيه. ما انت عارف احنا ظلينا في الشمال هنا ما كانش فيه خبز، كنا نشتري اللي فيه الشعير هذا نعمله، وما تحملش، جسمه ما تحملش، مناعته اخر شيء ضعفت وما تحملش.
According to the Palestinian Ministry of Health, 3 new deaths from malnutrition were recorded in the past 24 hours, all of them adults, bringing the total to 303. The war began on October 7, 2023, when Hamas launched an unprecedented attack on southern Israel, killing more than 1,000 people, mostly civilians, and kidnapping over 200, according to Israeli officials. In response, Israel launched a large-scale campaign of airstrikes and ground incursions in Gaza, killing more than 62,000 people, according to the Palestinian side. Reporting for Newsline World, Leylah Fernandez, SMNI News.
The United Arab Emirates, or UAE, has once again dropped vital humanitarian aid over Gaza, its 81st mission under the Birds of Goodness initiative. The effort comes as families inside the enclave struggle with worsening shortages of food and water. Video release shows UAE Air Force aircraft loaded with aid supplies before taking off for Gaza. From the skies, packages were airdropped across the different areas, with residents rushing to collect what they could. According to the Emirati news agency, the mission was carried out with support from Jordan and in partnership with Germany and Indonesia. The supplies, largely food, were provided by Emirati charitable institutions. This latest drop brings the UAE's total contribution to more than 4,000 tons of food and essentials delivered to Gaza since the war began. In other news, airlines could face hefty fines if passengers aren't informed immediately about flight cancellations. Philippine Civil Aeronautics Board says travelers must be offered rebooking, refunds, and even on-the-spot assistance at the airport. If not, they could be in trouble. Details of this report from Kristel Guangco.
The Department of Transportation is calling on the Civil Aeronautics Board, or CAB, to make sure airlines provide a real-time, accurate flight updates to passengers. Attorney Clarabel Ann Lacsina of CAB says the agency will step up monitoring and enforcement to make sure airlines follow the rules. Under the Air Passenger Bill of Rights, if a flight is cancelled within 7 days of departure, passengers must be informed immediately and given a clear reason why.
Pag na-cancel po ang flight, dapat po ay una, maaari po maisakay sa next available flight ang pasahero o bigyan sila ng option na mai-rebook ang kanilang flight ng walang cost sa pasahero or i-refund yung full value ng ticket. May option din po na kapag na pwede po ma-endorse sa ibang airline o pagbili ng ticket, pero depende din po ito sa rason ng cancellation.
If a passenger has already checked in at the airport, airlines must also provide food, drinks, and other assistance while they wait. CAB can impose fines from 5,000 pesos up to 2 million pesos for violations.
Kaparusahan po sa paglabag ng mga regulasyon ng CAB ayon sa aming charter or RA 776 at pag-amyenda ng RA 11659, ang CAB po ay may kapangyarihan na magpataw ng administrative fine ranging from 5,000 to 2 million pesos.
For specific violations of the Air Passenger Bill of Rights, fines range from 50,000 to 189,000 pesos. CAB is also running public awareness campaigns, posting airport tarpaulins, QR codes for instant info, and holding seminars for airline staff, students, and consumer groups. Currently, 31 passenger rights action officers are deployed to major airports to monitor airlines and respond to complaints. CAB also encourages passengers to report issues through email, hotlines, and social media. For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Kristel Guangco, SMNI News.
Coming up in Geneva, European powers warn Iran, curb uranium enrichment or face sanctions. Britain, France, and Germany meet with Iranian officials as the deadline looms for nuclear compliance. A son's plea for his father, Sebastian Duterte, speaks out in the Netherlands, demanding fair treatment for the former president under the custody of the ICC. And the glamour is back. The Venice Film Festival 2025 kicks off with stars like Adam Sandler, Emma Stone, Laura Dern, Heidi Klum, and George and Amal Clooney lining up the red carpet. Newsline World will be back after the break.
Sa kabila ng mga mas modernong kaalaman at teknolohiya, nananatiling matindi ang banta ng HIV sa Pilipinas. Pero gaano nga ba kalala ang sitwasyon? Ang HIV o Human Immunodeficiency Virus ay isang sakit na sumisira sa immune system ng katawan. Ngunit tandaan, hindi ito nakukuha sa simpleng pakikisalamuha. Hindi mo agad mararamdaman, pero unti-unti nitong pinapahina ang katawan. At kapag hindi naagapan, humahantong ito sa AIDS, ang huling yugto na impeksyon, kung saan halos wala ng panlaban ng katawan laban sa sakit. Patuloy na dumadami ang kaso ng sakit na ito sa Pilipinas. Isang nakababahalang pagtaas. Umabot na sa 500% ang itinaas ng HIV cases sa mga kabataang edad 15 hanggang 25. Ayon mismo sa Department of Health, 56 na bagong kaso ang naitatala kada araw sa bansa mula Enero hanggang Marso 2025. At ang pinakamatinding apektado, ang kalalakihan at kabataang Pilipino. Dahil dito, ang Pilipinas na ngayon ang may pinakamataas na bilang ng bagong kaso ng HIV sa buong Western Pacific region. Isang indikasyon ng lumulubahang sitwasyon. Kaya nananawagan ng Department of Health gawing opisyal at urgent ang laban sa HIV sa pamamagitan ng isang Public Health Emergency Declaration. Kalalakihan ng pangunahing apektado. 95% ng bagong kaso ay lalaki. Mahigit 1/4 ay kabataang nasa edad 15 hanggang 24. Habang wala pang deklarasyon, patuloy ang DOH sa mga sumusunod na hakbang: HIV testing, libreng gamot, self-test kits, at pakikipagtulungan sa DepEd para sa edukasyon sa mga paaralan. Isinulong rin ng DOH ang online patient appointment system para sa HIV patients. Layunin nitong gawing mas madali at mas personal ang pag-access sa libreng gamutan at konsultasyon ayon sa schedule ng pasyente. Ang HIV ay hindi tulad ng flu. Hindi ito basta naipapasa sa hangin. Ito ay naipapasa sa pamamagitan ng personal na desisyon. Kailangan din nating pagtuunan ng pansin ang ugali, disiplina at personal na responsibilidad. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
Isang digmaan na parang pelikula. Missiles, drones, at bunker-busting bombs. Pero ang epekto, totohanan. Daan-daang patay, wasak na infrastruktura, at nagmahal ang presyo ng langis na nakaapekto sa pandaigdigang merkado. Ito ang tinaguriang 12-day war o 12 araw na gyera sa pagitan ng Iran at Israel. Isang gyerang nagbago sa takbo ng politika, ekonomiya, at seguridad, hindi lang sa Middle East, kundi sa buong mundo. Hunyo 13, 2025, binomba ng Israel ang Iran para pigilan ang umano'y pagbuo ng nuclear weapons. Gumanti ang Iran. Libu-libong missiles at drones ang pinakawalan na ikinamatay ng 28 sa Israel. Sa loob ng 12 araw, kaliwat kanang opensiba ang inilunsad ng magkabilang panig. Hunyo 22, sumali na ang Amerika. 3 nuclear sites sa Iran ang binomba gamit ang B-2 stealth bombers sa Isfahan, Fordo at Natanz. Sabi ng US, layo nitong hadlangan ang nuclear program ng Iran. Pero para sa Tehran, ito raw ay pagtalikod sa diplomasya. Hunyo 24, inanunsyo ni US President Donald Trump ang ceasefire sa pagitan ng Israel at Iran. Pero ilang oras pa lang, muling nagkagirian. May ulat ng missile strike ng Iran na itinanggi nito kaya gumanti ang Israel. Sa huli, tumigil din ang putukan. Parehong panig nagdeklara ng tagumpay. Parehas ding nagturuan kung sino nga ba ang lumabag sa ceasefire. Ngunit para kay Trump, pareho lang lumabag ang dalawang panig. Bandang gabi ng Hunyo 24, tumalab na rin sa wakas ang ceasefire. Ngunit habang pansamantalang natahimik ang putukan, nananatiling mainit ang mga tanong. May saysay pa ba ang diplomatikong kasunduan kung nauuna pa rin ang dahas? Marami ang umaasang ang tigil putukan ay simula ng mas mahinahong diskusyon. Pero ang duda, nananatili. Sa Israel, nagtago ang mga sibilyan sa mga bomb shelter. Habang sa Iran, maraming taga-Tehran ang napilitang umalis sa kanilang mga tahanan patungong Turkey at Armenia para makaligtas sa gulo. Sa Iran, ayon sa health ministry nila, 610 na ang patay, 4,746 ang sugatan. Sa Israel, 28 ang nasawi ayon sa Army Radio. Marami rin sa military commander at scientist ng Iran ang nasawi. Sa Israel, umabot sa 8.7 bilyong dolyar ang kabuang gasto sa digmaan. Katumbas ito ng halos 725 milyong dolyar kada araw sa loob ng 12 araw, habang ang Iran nahirapang makabangon dahil sa nasirang pasilidad. Matapos ang deklarasyon ng ceasefire, nakatutok na ulit ang puwersa ng Israel sa Gaza. Ang Iran walang plano na agad makipagnegosasyon sa Estados Unidos. Bagaman sinuspindi rin nito ang muling pakikipagnegosasyon sa US patungkol sa kanilang nuclear program, bukas pa rin ang pinto ng diplomasya. Tuloy pa rin ang nuclear program ng Iran na iginiit nilang para sa mapayapang layunin. Git pa nila, lalo pa raw paiitingin ang pagsulong nito sa gitna ng tensyon. Sa kasagsagan ng tensyon, nagbanta ang Iran na isasara ang Strait of Hormuz, isang makitid na lagusan kung saan dumadaan ang halos 20% ng langis sa buong mundo. Bagamat hindi pa ito isinara, nagdulot na ng panik ang banta ng Iran. Tumaas ang presyo ng langis. Umabot sa $78 kada barrels ang krudo. Damang-dama ng buong mundo ang epekto ng digmaan. Ang pandaigdigang merkado nataranta. Sa kasagsagan ng gyera, bumagsak ng 2% ang US S&P 500 at tumaas ng 30% ang gastos sa maritime insurance na nagpabigat sa kalakalan sa Asya. Sa Pilipinas, na umaas sa imported na langis, lalong tumaas ang presyo ng gasolina, LPG at bilihin na nagpalala sa inflation. Ang mga Pinoy na nasa Middle East na nais bumalik sa Pilipinas dahil sa takot na hirapan makauwi. Kapag tumataas ang presyo ng langis, sumasabay din ang gasto sa produksyon ng mga bilihin, kaya't ramdam ang epekto nito hindi lang sa petrolyo, kundi sa buong ekonomiya. May panukalang fuel subsidy para sa mga PUV. Pero sapat kaya ito? Isa itong paalala na kahit malayo ang labanan, ramdam.
Now we are back for more news. In Geneva, European powers are moving closer to reinstating sanctions on Iran. Britain, France, and Germany met with Iranian officials Tuesday, warning that Tehran faces a snapback of penalties if it fails to curb uranium enrichment and restore cooperation with International Nuclear Inspector. Joy Tabanao reports.
On Tuesday, representatives from Britain, France, and Germany, collectively known as the E3 nations, met with their Iranian counterparts in Geneva. The aim of the meeting was to reimpose sanctions on Iran for the so-called snapback mechanism. European concerns over Iran's nuclear program have continued to grow, especially after the 12-day war between Iran and Israel in June, during which Israel bombed several of Iran's nuclear facilities. Following the conflict, Iran officially severed all ties and cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA, the organization responsible for monitoring Iran's nuclear program. Despite this, Iran continues to insist that its nuclear program is solely for peaceful purposes. Nevertheless, Iran remains the only non-nuclear armed country in reaching uranium to levels close to weapons grade. Because of this, Europe and the United States agreed to set a deadline at the end of August to trigger the snapback mechanism should Iran fail to meet the conditions laid out for the country. Joy Tabanao, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Raging wildfires are sweeping across Galicia and northwestern Spain, threatening homes in the provinces of Orense and Lugo. Firefighters in Spain's emergency military unit were deployed Tuesday as towering flames and thick smoke engulfed the countryside. Water-dropping helicopters raced overhead while residents looked on anxiously. Authorities say that level 2 alert has now been lifted in Orense, but it remains in place in neighboring Lugo, where a massive blaze in Pobra do Brolyon has already scorched more than 600 hectares. According to European data, Spain has lost over 411,000 hectares to wildfires this year alone, nearly 10 times more than in all of 2024. Former President Rodrigo Duterte's children visit him at the ICC detention center, with son Baste slamming his father's confinement as inhumane for an 80-year-old. Jason Rubrico has more on this.
Acting Davao City Mayor Sebastian Duterte, along with his siblings, Representative Paulo Pulong Duterte and Veronica Kitty Duterte, visited their father inside the International Criminal Court or ICC detention center. In an ambush interview, Baste expressed disappointment over the former president's condition, saying it was inhumane to keep him confined at 80 years old.
Buhay pa naman siya. Pero hindi siya yung dapat na yung isang tao na ganun yung kondisyon niya sa edad niya na dapat nasa isang detention center. You know what I mean? Yes. Sa kalagayan niya at saka huwag na lang natin i-mention yung kung anong contribution niya sa Pilipinas. Huwag na lang yon, yung kalagayan niya lang yung iisipin at kalusugan ng tao. He's already 80 years old, tapos ganon yung treatment ng Philippine government. The head of state is Bongbong Marcos, diba? Ganon yung treatment niya sa tao.
Baste also appealed to the Dutch government, pointing out the Netherlands' strong stance on human rights. He urged officials there to allow open discussions on his father's detention and state of health.
Another one, I do not know if this will go well with the, with the Dutch, pero you are very sensitive when it comes to human rights. So sana maisip nila rin na they should open the debate. Yun lang naman dapat sana. Wala naman, we're not against, kung sino man nagpapatakbo or this place or this country is allowing it to happen, but they should open up the debate to put an 80-year-old individual na medyo may problema na sa kalusugan, may mga sakit na rin, na bakit nandyan siya at ano ba talaga yung kasalanan niya.
The acting mayor further defended his father's record, stressing that the former president's campaign against illegal drugs was meant to protect Filipinos. He argued that a leader focused on saving lives should not be punished.
Because kung ako tatanungin nyo, if it is a war against drugs, kasi yun yung dahilan ng mga who is opposing him, kaya nandito siya. Sino ba ang tinatamaan nun? If you are against drugs, di yung tinatamaan nun yung mga nagbebenta, mga poser, mga drug lord. So paano sa naging mali doon? Because he wants to save the victims of these people. So anong kasalanan ng tao ngayon na nandyan siya sa... Ayoko na magalit.
Meanwhile, his sister Kitty says the former president is expected to see all 4 of his children this week. For God and my beloved Philippines, I am Jason Rubrico, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, desperation is mounting in Gaza as residents recount harrowing escapes and sudden evacuation orders. Families say they were forced to flee with only minutes' notice as Israeli forces advance deeper into Gaza City. Prince Tripoli has the details.
More families are once again on the move in Gaza City, fleeing intense Israeli military operations in the Al-Saf Tawi area. Footage from Tuesday shows residents hurriedly loading belongings onto vehicles, some walking on foot, while others wait by the roadside for transfer. Displaced mother Hind Abu Warda says they have nowhere left to turn.
يعني احنا مش عارفين لا وين نروح ولا وين نجي. يعني اللي بيصير معانا حرام، والله حرام اللي بيصير معانا. ايش احنا عملنا عشان يصير في الشعب هيك؟
Another resident, Shahir Al-Mashri, claims they were given just minutes to evacuate before airstrikes hit nearby buildings.
قصفوا علينا في الليل، قصفوا العمارات اللي حوالينا في الصفطاوي، احنا طبعا معيادة السويد في الصفطاوي، قصفوا علينا العمارات اللي حوالينا، واجت الطيارة نزلت علينا وقالت لنا اطلعوا معكم 10 دقائق، وشي زي ما انت شايف العالم كلها طلعت يعني من غير ما تاخذ اي حاجة، اخذت الحاجة اللي تقدر عليها تقدر تشيلها. حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل، ايش بدنا نساوي يا خالد؟
The Israeli military has yet to comment on the alleged bombings on evacuation orders. This latest push comes after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu approved military plans to seize control of Gaza City. The conflict has raged since October 7, 2023, when Hamas launched deadly attack in Israel. Since then, Palestinian officials report more than 62,000 people have been killed in Gaza. Prince Tripoli, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Canberra is stepping up its defenses, shutting down its embassy in Tehran and preparing to blacklist Iran's Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist group. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says the moves come amid fresh intelligence of foreign-backed attacks on Australian soil. Sarah Santos reports.
Australia has accused Iran of ordering 2 anti-Semitic arson attacks in the cities of Sydney and Melbourne, giving Tehran's ambassador 7 days to leave the country. Since the war between Israel and Gaza began in October 2023, homes, schools, synagogues and vehicles in Australia have been targeted in anti-Semitic vandalism and arson, while incidents of Islamophobia have also surged. According to Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, the Australian Security Intelligence Organisation has gathered strong evidence implicating Iran in the attacks on a kosher restaurant in Sydney and the Adass Israel Synagogue in Melbourne. Albanese added that Iran may have orchestrated further attacks based on intelligence reports from the country's security agency. As a result, Australia has immediately suspended its embassy operations in Tehran. He also said that the Australian government will designate Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organisation.
The actions of my government send a clear message to all Australians that we stand against anti-Semitism and we stand against violence, and a message to nations like Iran who seek to interfere in our country that your aggression will not be tolerated.
Reporting, Sarah Santos, SMNI News.
For our sports update, tennis legend Venus Williams returns to the action at the US Open, this time in doubles, after being awarded a wild card with Canada's Leylah Fernandez. Meanwhile, Cleveland Cavaliers guard Max Strus is set to miss a significant part of the 2025 to 2026 season following a foot surgery. More on this with Carlo De La Peña.
Venus Williams will play in the US Open women's doubles after receiving a wild card with Canada's Leylah Fernandez. The 45-year-old American, who exited in a singles first round against Karolina Muchova, will face 6 seeds Ludmila Kitchenok and Ellen Perez in their opening match. Williams is a 2-time US Open doubles champion, winning in 1999 and 2009 with sister Serena. Fernandez, seeded 31st in singles, advanced to the second round after beating Rebecca Marino. Meanwhile, the Cavaliers confirmed Tuesday that 29-year-old Strus underwent surgery to repair a Jones fracture in his left foot, an injury he suffered during a recent workout. Recovery is expected to take 3 or 4 months. Strus, who joined Cleveland on a 4-year, $63 million deal, averaged 12.2 points per game in his first season with the team. This setback comes after Strus missed the start of the last season with a sprained right ankle, demonstrating the challenges he has overcome to contribute to the Cavs lineup. Cleveland now faces the task of adjusting its rotation, while Strus focuses on recovery. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo De La Peña bringing you the latest sports news.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the sun. You cannot defeat darkness by darkness, evil by evil, and hate by hate. You can only defeat darkness by light, evil by good, and hate by love. That's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Kristel Guangco. Thank you for watching.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.